Ladies and gentlemen, get on the edge of your seats because this is an Action Sports Jax special presentation. Storytellers of the 904.
We take Storytellers of the 904 on the road to Jags headquarters, and we appreciate the Executive Vice President of the Jaguars, Tony Boselli, sharing some time with us and taking us down memory lane. This whole show is about people who have impacted Jacksonville, names that are synonymous with Jacksonville. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, you fit the bill.
Oh, I would say fortunate. I feel very fortunate to be living here in Jacksonville, but I'd be lying if I'd have said in 1995 when they picked me that 30 years later I'd be sitting here and kind of this would be home and raised our kids. And I've spent more time in Jacksonville than any place in my whole life. So this is definitely home. I mean, people ask the question, where are you from? It's Jacksonville. I mean, this is obviously not where I grew up, so on and so forth. Everyone knows that, but this is definitely home, and plan on it, God willing, to be here for a long time.
Well, this story takes us through the years, and we know a lot of your story. So, but if we go back to the Colorado days, right, where we've been actually during the whole Hall of Fame process and met some of your family, sure. How much of what you're all about still stems from those times?
Well, I think a lot. I mean, I think the foundation kind of who I am is based on my family and how I was raised, my dad and my uncle and aunt, and were very influential. My mom, my stepmom, so brothers, sisters, stepdad. I mean, all these people that were in my life kind of as you're growing up and playing sports, school, family dynamics. Family was always very important in our house, and we had extended family doing a lot of things together. And so I think that obviously influenced me quite a bit. But I think along those lines, as much as my family's influenced me, I think sports and the mentors that I've had, my high school coach, Sam Pagano, my college coaches, and so those are the individuals that really kind of put their stamp, had their fingerprints that helped kind of shape, form who I am, and then beyond that, I mean, the two biggest influences in my life for the last 30 years have been my faith as a Christian in Jesus, and my wife. I mean, those from a young person in Colorado, obviously my immediate family and extended family there, but since I've gotten out of college and come here, I think faith as a Christian and my wife have been the biggest influences that kind of make up who I am.
Those two entities, have they changed you or kind of solidified everything that was built on that foundation? How do you view it?
That's a great question. I think changed. Maybe not the foundation of who I am, and what, how I was raised and the principles and kind of those core values that we all have. But I think definitely at the very least refined it, but I think evolved, changed. I mean, growing up going to church and Christian church, and that was important in my family. But until I really, as an adult, made that, saying, hey, this is a decision I'm now making to follow Jesus and to put my faith in him, obviously that's a huge impact because that starts changing how you view the world, how you view individuals, how you view your place in the world. And then, you get married at 23 and right out of college, and Angie and I didn't know anything. Outside, we really were crazy about each other. And she's a special person from the standpoint of kind of softening the edges of me. I think I have a natural intensity and directness or forwardness and just kind of how I approach everything. And Angie's really helped me kind of refine that, look at the world a little bit differently, how I interact with people. I think obviously there's a maturity that happens as you grow and get into profession. Me, it was professional football, but you kind of get out of that college atmosphere and kind of we're all knuckleheads and kind of trying to figure life out. And now you have to be an adult all of a sudden. And I, at the same time, got married. So Angie has been huge. If there's any one person over the last 30 years, I mean, she's had the biggest influence in my life.
I'll talk more about the family in just a little bit, but let's go back to coming out of USC. And obviously you're a big-time player. You had a great college career, and you end up getting drafted by the Jaguars. What I'm interested in is, did you think you would be taken by Carolina, or eventually when they traded in the move, I think Cincinnati, all that happened. Did you think Jaguars, or what was your mindset at that time coming out where you were going to place in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, right after the season, I had no idea. I mean, I had a good sense I was going to be a top 10 pick, and pretty much everyone I talked to, whether it's scouting or the All-Americans or other coaches or whatever, said, hey, you know, you're viewed as the best offensive lineman coming into the draft. So I knew it would be high. And then as the process starts going, you know, into the combine and immediately post-combine, I never thought the Panthers would take me because they didn't show much interest. It wasn't I don't think I even ever talked to Dom Capers or Bill Polian at that time. The Jaguars were one of probably 3 or 4 teams in the top 6 that spent significant time, or at least conversations and interest in me coming. And then in March, when the Jaguars flew me out here for an on-site visit, I mean, Tom told me, he says, we are picking you at number 2, and if you don't hear from me, that means nothing's changed. The night before the draft, I was in New York, which I only went to New York because my wife's then girlfriend told me I was going. You can get a picture of how things have worked out over the last 30 years, who's really in charge in the Boselli household. And in the hotel room, we're at the Marriott Marquis the night before draft. Everyone's getting ready to go to dinner. Phone rings. It's the Jaguars, and said, "Hey, Cincinnati has traded up to number 1, and we're here. We are hearing that they're going to take you." And they were one of the teams that had come to SC, worked me out, spent a whole day with me, so I knew there was interest. And so there was some question, maybe for a few hours, but then late that night, going into the morning, it was clear they were going to take John Carter.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I figured I was going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar. And it was exciting. I mean, at that point, you don't think about expansion team or the next year. Really, you just want to be, number one, you want to fulfill your dream of getting into the NFL. Once you got a sense that that's pretty secure, that's going to happen, I think then it's like, hey, I want to go as high as I can, because as a competitor, you're competing. Like, hey, I want to be the top pick, or I want to be, as high as I possibly can, be the first offensive lineman. And then woke up the next morning and didn't have to wait long. And Tom Coughlin called and said, "You're going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar."
Well, your story's so well documented, and I know many people know about it, but was there a time, you know you're good. Obviously, they prove you're good, and they think you're good because you drafted number 2 overall. But is there a time when you get here and you start playing games and you start settling into your NFL career, you're like, I can be Hall of Fame good?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. So when I flew here the first time after the draft, that night of the night of the draft, and I remember Tom introduced me, said, "Hey, this is going to be the cornerstone of the organization, of the franchise." And I sat there going, man, there was enough pressure already being the second overall pick of an expansion team, and for Tom to say that, you don't think about that as an offensive lineman. I mean, that's the quarterback or some, a star skill guy or whatever. And so I remember thinking at that moment, I felt the pressure of I didn't want to let anyone down, and especially the team that just invested in me. And so you go through training camp, I get hurt. All kinds of questions go through your mind. The very thing you were brought here to do, you can't do. That was one of the more difficult times of my career. And then here comes Sunday Night Football early in the season against Green Bay Packers, my first start. And you don't know, because I hadn't practiced much, probably practiced for 2 weeks between the 10 days of camp before I got hurt and the week or so before that Sunday night game. And I remember going out on the field for the first time and telling myself, okay, we're going to find out pretty quickly whether you can do this or not. And I had a sense as that game went on, and the next day I'm like, okay, I can play. Now, I'd be lying if I said, hey, I'm going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that ever crossed my mind playing. It was always trying to be the best I could be. And so it's a progression. You know, you go through your rookie year, and it was a good season, but it wasn't great. We weren't great. You know, got to get better. And I think then the second year have obviously the run and the playoff run and have success against some really great pass rushers, Hall of Famers, and started getting the recognition. So you just, like, confidence begets confidence, momentum gets going. And it was interesting because now the expectations even changed.
Oh, yeah.
Probably not internally, because my expectations have always been extremely higher. I mean, no matter what Tom said or Mike Mazer, my offensive line coach, or anyone said, I was always a tougher critic of myself. But now the external conversation comes and the expectations even get higher. So, and you learn from that. You know, looking back, there's times I wish I'd have handled it better. I wish I would have enjoyed the moment more, because you're always striving to reach the next thing or to get better, or, you know, you don't want to ever be satisfied, but there's a fine line there. Is also that lack of satisfaction or not being comfortable is important. I think that's what drives to greatness. But at the same time, you have to have the ability to enjoy the moment. And sometimes I look back and said, I probably could have enjoyed that moment a little bit more instead of just always being so dang mad if it wasn't perfect every time.
Yeah.
But that's what that's life, and wouldn't trade it. And it was, but I don't know if there's ever a moment I said, hey, I'm a Hall of Famer. I mean, obviously, listen, I'm human. The accolades, being recognized as the best offensive lineman, all pro, all those awards you get, I mean, those are great. And those are, I'd be lying if I said anything different. But honestly, a lot of that was, those are fleeting moments. Because for me, it was great. That's cool. High five, everybody. But the moment immediately afterwards, my mind's going like, okay, I got to go do it again.
Yeah.
Because getting there is one thing, staying there is another thing, and repeating it year over year, that's the hard part. And that's what you try to do.
Yeah, that was good to recognize. Not everybody can recognize that in the moment. You talked about moments that you maybe didn't cherish enough. You rode the ride of those early years, which we have so many new fans in Jacksonville, maybe that will watch this someday. Yeah. And you'd be like, what was that like? I wasn't here during that time. We have, I think, visions of what the 90s were like here in Jacksonville, that late 90s, culminating with 99.
Yeah.
What was it like to be a part of it, and what are the faces of it, along with some other players here in Jacksonville?
It was great. I mean, that's what you play the game to win. And it was hard, though. Tom was a demanding coach. So even when you're having success, you know, you're being hard on yourself, but then you also have a head coach who's not satisfied with anything. Like, he is the ultimate of saying, great, but who cares what you just did? We got to go. Mm-hmm. And so it was a grind. It was hard. Everyone says how tough he was physically. Football's tough physically. I think the harder part's the mental side of it, of that grind of saying, you know, never letting your thumb off, or the thumb never being let off you, I should say. And so, but it was great. The city was excited. We were some big moments. The playoff runs were great. But then there's that same side that feels like we fell short. Because I think we felt like, and I still feel like we were one of the best teams during that period of time, but never got over the hump. So you can't say that. And it's actually one of the things, you know, completely different role now, but be able to come back in the organization. You know, a dream of mine would be to be a part of the organization when we got over the hump, and I believe we will. And so that's the kind of the full circle. But back in the 90s, it was great, but just not quite good enough.
Yeah. When you walked into a grocery store, though, like, was this place nuts with Jags? Like, was
it was. I mean, it was great. Our fans were, and I didn't always handle it great as a young guy. My pet peeve was being bothered when I was out to dinner with my wife or family or friends and people asking for autographs. I said earlier how my wife was a big influence to help me kind of rounding some of the sharp edges. there was some sharpness to me, and I think probably put some people off at times because they'd come bother me and I would not give the greatest response. But then you get older, you realize they're excited, and there was a lot of excitement. And as a player, that's what you want. You want to be appreciated. Our fans were great. And I think my favorite part about the whole experience, and one of the reasons I'm still here, is Jacksonville is filled with so many great families and people. And so it was a great place to live in general. So yes, it was great playing here in the 90s, but I think the most satisfying thing is the community that we are part of. And people ask all the time, do you get bothered a lot in Jacksonville? You know, you're Hall of Famer, you know, been part of the organization. And I don't. And I get recognized a lot, and people say hi, but it's not a bother, because one of the benefits of being here so long now and being a part of the early 90s is it's almost like they just look at me as like, yeah, that's Tony. He lives here, and like, hey, it's great. And they say hi, and you know, and you know,
that's cool.
It's fun, and so it's one of the things that's really nice. It's comfortable. It's good to live here, and I think that's part of it, because especially those older fans, they appreciate that moment so much. And the goal now is how do we? It's not replicate that, but build on that and take it to a whole nother level, and to create an organization and be a part of something that can be consistently operating at a high level. And so that it's year over year where you're building upon it and ultimately trying to win a championship. And that was because that was the one thing we didn't get done in the 90s.
Yeah. Knowing your mentality, you go to Houston, you get drafted first of their expansion draft. So there becomes a lot of responsibility, much like you had here. And then you never play for them because of the injury. How is that sat with you?
It did not sit well at the time, and it still does not sit well with me.
In what respect?
From the standpoint, I said a second ago, one of the hardest parts of my career was getting hurt early. Probably one of the most difficult times of my career, life, whatever, outside, you know, when it comes to my profession, was the Houston experience. I knew my shoulder was beat up. I thought the surgery would fix it. I was told it would fix it. Did not go well. Did not know that when Houston came. Obviously, Jacksonville, we were in terrible salary cap problems. I had worked with the team every year for 3 years to defer my base salary into a bonus so they could spread it out. So now all of a sudden I had the biggest cap number. Hurt at the same time, and I remember when Tom came in on a Saturday morning, knocked on my door and said, hey, because we were neighbors, he said, we're going to put you on the expansion list and the Texans are going to take you. And that started a moment, started probably an anger, disappointment with the organization, but also just the fact that I wasn't healthy. Now I'm going to Houston. I was determined to go prove everybody wrong. And probably some of the hardest work I'd ever put in were over those 18 months trying to rehab. I mean, you know, 5 to 7 to 9 hours a day, 3 surgeries, you know, surgeries, trying to fix the first surgery that did not go well. And then, you know, in August of, or end of July going into camp in 2003, I remember it hit me, I can't play. And I couldn't lift my arm off from my side barely, was trying to go through and trying to get ready for camp, and it was obvious that my body just, the surgery didn't work. It made it worse. Actually, the surgery made my shoulder worse, and that was it. And so all of a sudden, this elation, or the high points that I've been living for the last 7 years of having success, playing at a high level, and playing for an organization that I loved in the city that drafted me. I'm now in another city, mad at the place I was at, frustrated with them, frustrated with myself and the situation I found myself in, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you sit back and you're like, this was not part of the plan. This is not how the fairy tale ending didn't quite happen. Like you sit in bed and dream about it and saying, hey, we're going to finish in Jacksonville. We're going to win a Super Bowl, kind of retire when I want to. God had a different plan. He said, no, I don't think that's going to work out that way. This is going to be it.
Were you in a dark place at that
Yeah,
time?
it was, I didn't.
Or would you call it that? Or?
Oh, I would. It was, I mean, I didn't know at the time, but I mean, I'm sure at whatever level of depression, you don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to do anything. You don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to do anything. You got 1,000 questions going through your head every second. Wondering what you're going to do now. I mean, you're 31 years old. You're like, what the heck am I going to do the rest of my life? Got 4 kids. You're living in a city that you never planned on living in. And so, yeah, it was miserable. It was a terrible time. And this is where I'm thankful for my faith and my family. And to be specific, my Angie and the 4 kids, because it gives you something to say. I remember moments like, well, I can't do nothing. I can't sit here and feel sorry for myself. I got a wife and 4 little kids.
Yeah.
And so you go, what finally clicked at some level, and I can't remember exactly when, but during that period, it's almost like, well, I just got to go back and do the very thing that made me successful in football. And that's just put your head down and go work your tail off and try to be the best at whatever you're going to do. And I didn't know what I was going to do at the time. And so you just go back to work and you figure it out. What choice do you have? I mean, sitting there and feeling sorry for yourself isn't going to get it done. And go to work and kind of navigate and come to peace with some things. I had to make a decision. Am I going to stay mad at the organization I loved that drafted me in the city that I loved? Or am I going to get over that and go back to where I belong?
Yeah.
And so I had to come to grips with that because I was mad. And it's funny looking back now, and it probably took about 3, 4, maybe 5 years. But at some moment I realized, I'm like, wait a second. It's called professional football for a reason. It's a business. We are in the entertainment business. Yes, it's a game I love, and everyone who plays it loves it and coaches it, and you're passionate about it. And it's something you do as a kid for free, and you go to high school and you dream about, playing at a major college, and you dream about playing the pros. But at some point, it becomes your job. And the coaches have jobs, and the front office has jobs, and this is a for-profit entity for the people who own these 32 franchises. And you got to make hard decisions, and you got to make business decisions. And so at some point you realize, hey, I didn't have to like it. Maybe I would have done it differently. Maybe I would have liked to communicate differently. Maybe I would have liked whatever. But it's business. They made a decision that they felt like was in the best interest of the Jacksonville Jaguars to help the organization move forward in a positive manner. And that decision included taking my salary and my hurt self somewhere else. And it wasn't great. It was downright miserable, but I understand it. And those are the type of things you got to wrestle with, I think, and throughout life. And with relationships, jobs, moves, all these different things that we all go through as humans, but you got to wrestle with them. You got to be honest with yourself and look at it as honestly as you can, and then move on and make decisions based on that. And so I remember Angie and I were living in Nashville, Tennessee, moved from Houston, tried Austin for a little bit, didn't like Austin, said, hey, we have friends in Nashville, let's go over there. And I was doing some speaking for a Christian sports ministry that was based there, so hey, let's go do that. And literally, I think we moved there on November 7th or 8th. One calendar year later, we moved out of that house back to Jacksonville. And I remember sitting there, it was the beginning of November, and we actually had come back to Jacksonville with the kids to see some friends, Brunel, we just came back to see friends. And we were here for a week, rented a house in Jax Beach, and had a great time, and flew back to Nashville. And I remember getting back And I walked into the bedroom and I looked at Angie and I said, we're selling the house, we're moving to Jacksonville. She goes, what? Because she wanted to move back. She was way ahead of me.
Oh, okay.
And so she's like, really?
Let's go.
And we had the house packed and sold within 1 week.
You were motivated.
She was motivated. And I had just finally gotten to the place where I had come to peace and had realized, like, I belong in Jacksonville. Yeah. That's where my people are. Those are the community I love. It's where I want to do life. It's where I want to raise my kids. I had no idea if I'd have what involvement I would have with the Jaguars at all. But I knew I wanted to be back here. And so we moved back. And it was the best decision. This is where I tell people all the time, tell my kids, like, don't make decisions, especially big decisions, based on emotion or when you're overly emotional. Take a deep breath, think through it, try to see the whole picture. And because I think that that's the best way to make good, strong decisions in life is to take a step back, take a deep breath, let the emotions cool, and kind of evaluate the whole picture and try to make the best decision you could. And I had spent from 2003 or 2002 when they sent me to Houston, about 3.5 years just mad and unhappy and about what had happened. And then I realized, I'm like, well, it happened. It's business.
Yeah.
I was hurt. Surgery didn't work. I thought I would be able to play again. Houston took me. Didn't work out. That's the business too. It was miserable. Not something I want to revisit. Not something I want to do again. But I think I learned a lot about myself and the people around me. And you move on and take those lessons and try to apply them later and try to be a better person.
So you know where you want to live. You had done some business stuff, faith-based things after football, but you really started to shift into broadcasting, right?
Yeah.
Was that the next thing, or did I miss something in there?
No. So I get done, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Had made some investments, some that weren't all that great, actually, and dabbled in those things, and one was good. Started doing more there. And then and was speaking for a sports ministry, and that was fine. But I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I always enjoyed business, enjoyed numbers. Was a finance major at business administration with finance emphasis at SC, and so. But I didn't know where to go there. And as I'm trying to figure that out, I get a call from Dan Edwards, and says, hey. What do you think about doing our preseason games? I said, sure, it'd be great. And so this is about 2 or 3 years after. I think I just moved back, or I was getting ready to move back. And so I started doing preseason games. And I'll never, the first one I did, I was so bad. I was so nervous. It was miserable. And got done with the game, and Kurt Menefee was the play-by-play guy.
Yeah.
And now the studio host for Fox Sunday Football. And we were sitting there, and he said, hey, good job. I'm like, no, it was terrible. No, he said, first time you did good. And the producer said, hey, would you ever have an interest in doing this nationally? And I said, absolutely, sure, if you guys think I can do it. He's like, oh, you can do it. And so fast forward, I get a call with 3 weeks left in the season from Fox and says, hey, we have the last game of the year. We want to try out some people. Would you like to come do a game? It was the Minnesota Vikings against St. Louis Rams. And I said, sure. Did it, was much better. They offered me the contract, doing like the 6th or 7th game of the week. Did it for 2 or 3 years, can't remember. And then after, let's call it 2 years, I remember at the end of the second year, they're like, yeah, we're not going to renew your contract.
Oh, really?
I'm like, okay.
So they made that decision more than you did.
Oh, yeah, it was, I didn't love it, but they made the decision. Let's be clear. It was a clear decision by them. And the reason I didn't love it is because it was, there was nothing to measure winning or losing.
Yeah.
It was and like even what whether you were good or not, or successful or not.
A lot of gray area.
A lot of gray. It wasn't like, there was no substance, nothing concrete that said, hey, if you do these 3 things, or you do this or this, and you can move up.
Yeah.
You can get to the 5th game, and then if you keep on going and you show you can do this, there was none of that. It was basically, and you learn this, is that for broadcast television, a lot of it's where did you play, what position did you play, and how successful you were.
Yeah.
Well, I was one of the best offensive linemen, great, but I played offensive line, and I played in Jacksonville.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I realized pretty quickly, how far. Now, I wasn't going to get anywhere because Fox said we're not going to renew your contract. But it was actually, again, all these things are blessings. They set you up to the next thing. Howie got introduced to Howard Deneroff, who was running Westwood one time. He brought me on as a sideline guy and doing some college games, and grew in that. And it was interesting because that was a place I could grow. And again, he was honest. He's like, you're probably never going to do the Super Bowl because you never played in one. And so, but worked all my way up to call them the championship games. And that was great. Really enjoyed it. Great people. But I knew back when Fox didn't renew me and I started doing the radio, after about a year or two, I'm like, this is not for me. I don't want to make media my full-time job. And so around that time, I started getting back into business more, and I'd done some different things, and started a little. Had a marketing company with Jeff Novak. We were partners, and had some good, some bad. It kind of went its own way. He got into real estate development. I took that and got in and started a little consulting company with Susie Wiles, and Susie and I were partners for a while, and I owe her everything so much. Of my success in the business was because of Susie and her patience with me, and like, because we were doing a lot of stuff and some political stuff, but public sector stuff and procurement. And she's an expert at that. It's really helped me, and that kind of grew, and that's how I got into healthcare, and something I really enjoyed and passionate, and was able to start a couple companies and be a part of the startup companies, and work in some. The largest healthcare company in the world, United, and at the so I took this whole path of getting into the business world, which I really enjoyed, and it taught me so much. And I felt like what I enjoyed about it, you could measure winning and losing.
Yeah.
You could measure what it meant to be successful, and when you weren't, which that's okay. Like, great, I lost, I didn't get there, but I know what I need to do to get there. And so that was happening at the same time. Shad buys the Jaguars, or a little bit later, I think 2011, 12 timeframe. Shad buys the Jaguars. Mark Lamping comes in and he asked me, would I be interested in coming doing radio for the Jags? And I was like, absolutely. And so that, and I had been doing some stuff with Team Teal.
That's right.
When everything
you were doing some of the caravans and everything else?
Some of the caravans. I think I did 80 appearances over 4.5 months.
Wow. I remember it was a lot. I think I hit a lot of those with you.
Yeah, 80. And I think we sold like 13,000 season tickets or something crazy.
That was cool. If you don't remember, those are in Ocala and other places around the state.
Remember, that was like, there was panic because it was empty. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of questions of the future of the franchise. And I, as someone who loves Jacksonville, loves the Jaguars, I didn't want to see those two names separated. Yeah. And so it was a passion project for me. I was passionate about doing whatever I could to help this team and this community stay together and be one. And so I'd done that and did different things for the organization kind of on the side. But then Mark came in and said, hey, would you come in and do the broadcast game day and do a show? And I did it, and it was great because it gave me the flexibility of being part of the organization I loved, making a positive impact, because if I could help on sponsorship or anything else like that, I'd always would. Mark was great. Mark Lamping's been a great friend and boss and someone to work for. And so that was great, but it gave me this freedom to still do the business side. Yeah. And so I felt like
you'd become passionate about.
And I'd become passionate about what we were doing about healthcare and what we were doing. So the ability to do both those things was really a blessing and a lot of fun.
One thing to go back to, Westwood One, you ended up, I mean, you've done recent Westwood One stuff, so that kept going, right?
Yeah,
And you did Super Bowl.
Well, I did the sideline, yeah. So but I got to
That doesn't count. That counts.
No, the booth is the best. Plus, because my back would get too tight on the sideline, it was miserable. I get tired. Plus, I like to talk, so you don't get to talk.
Yeah, that's true. You better be quick there.
You better be quick. So, yeah. So what I did, that's a great point. So I did Westwood One for 13 years, maybe 15 years, 2000. Yeah, maybe even longer. I did it for a long time, however long it was, and so I was doing Westwood One, and Mark came and asked me if I do this, and I said, great. Because by then I'd been doing Thursday night football. So I said, are you okay if I keep doing Thursday night football? He says, absolutely. So I was running a business, working in healthcare, doing Thursday night football and Sunday for the Jags. And then a Monday night show for the Jags. And so it was busy, but I loved it. Like I got all the things I was excited about, passionate about. Football is my first love. It's what I love. I love the game. I'm thankful for the game, what it's done for me, what it's taught me. And so to be a part of it still was great. And then to be a part of the Jaguars was great. So super thankful to both, Mark and Shad for letting me years ago do both Westwood games here and then still maintain the business side.
I wanted to ask you about the business because it was a new challenge, right? The whole healthcare thing and everything else. It was maybe a little bit outside your normal scope. Was there a level of anonymity that you kind of enjoyed about that? I'm sure people knew who you were, but it's not like when you're involved in football where everybody knows who you are. And I also think, were you breaking a bit of a mold or barrier where you're helping run like this huge company or I don't know how high up you were, but you're not this, if you will, dumb jock from USC that plays football and made it to the Hall.
I was,
right? But I believe people probably thought that. Or did you sense that and you were?
Oh, no, I actually use it as an advantage. I loved when people kind of thought underestimated me or, because when I first I was doing, Susan and I were partners and then an opportunity came to start a company in healthcare. So I jumped into that and taught myself and built this thing from scratch. And it ended up being a great mission-driven company, not a great business because of I didn't know what I didn't know, and I ran into it and built it. We were in 8 states, raised money. It was, it was great, but you start understanding as you get deeper and deeper into it, you're like, okay, the operating model needs to be tweaked and everything else, which was a great learning for me. And then I go to Optum, which is part of United Health Group, get recruited there. And it was great because now I'm in big corporate America, which was completely foreign, a foreign place to me. Like all the things that go with that. Obviously, there's politics in big corporations. I mean, this is a company that has like 350,000 employees. Wow. I mean, so it's huge. And I was going out as I was on the senior leadership team, so one level from the executive leadership team. And I remember when I got the job, there was people that thought I got the job just because I was a professional football player. And because the guy who had one of my mentors in business was on the executive leadership team, at the very highest level of the organization. And he recruited me and hired me. And I remember some of probably his peers and people just underneath him thought, oh, we hired this football player just because he played football. And one of the great moments of working there is one of the guys that was above me a little bit, 6 months in, he says, hey, we're on a call, and he says, hey, Tony, I got to apologize to you. And I said, what for? I mean, I had a great relationship with this guy. He says, I just got to be honest with you. When we hired you, I thought you were just another athlete.
Just a name.
Just a name. We're just going to hire and figure out what we did with you. And he says, but I'm really impressed. Like, you understand the business, your work ethic and everything. It was a very nice compliment. But the funny thing to me is I knew it. I knew that's what people thought. I knew. You could feel it. I mean, you get the sense of it. I mean, you're around it enough. And but I was never offended. I'm like, great. To me, it's like think less of me, marginalize me, or put me in a corner and question my capabilities. Love it. It's just a challenge to me. Like, let's go. Let's compete, and let's see who ends up where.
Yeah.
And so to me, it was just a challenge.
Might have a little bit of that going on right now.
Well, I mean, I think maybe. I mean, I think a lot of people. Actually, maybe I'm overstating this. It does feel like there's certain people in the universe, around the universe of football, that are, I don't want to say questioning, but kind of waiting to see how this works with 39-year-old head coach, first-time head coach, coming in here, a 34-year-old GM that started off as the executive assistant for Les Snead just 9 years ago, and a 53-year-old ex-football player, and majority of people have no idea what I've done in the business world. And so I'm sure they're looking at the three of us and going, okay, let me get my head around really what the plan is here. Good. Underestimate us, question, because at the end of the day, all of us, whether it's in this business, you, any person, is going to be judged by what the activity or their life or their labor, whatever they're doing, whatever that fruit is, the fruit that is produced. So in this case, it better be wins, because the fruit is going to be wins or losses, and how we, that's what we should be judged by. And ultimately, that's what we will be judged by, is how does the organization run? How do we do things? Do we win football games? Are we competing at the end of the season to win the division? Are we getting in the playoffs? Are we winning playoff games? Are we marching towards, like, those are ultimately, and as far as, and as far as I think I'm concerned, James, Liam, obviously Shad, he hired us.
Yeah.
And people are probably going, Shad, what do you know that we don't know? I'll take that bet. Shad's been pretty good, pretty successful in life. But ultimately, we got to go prove it.
Yeah.
I mean, and which I love. What else do you want? I mean, I hope what everyone's looking for is just an opportunity. And if you get an op, go after it with everything you got, and see what happens.
Let's go lightning round so I don't keep you too much past our time, even though we could go forever. How close were you to ever being a coach? You coached some high school ball.
Yeah.
How close, either here or around the National Football League, were to use your expertise to be an offensive line coach?
Well, one of the funnest periods of time, or most fun, I'm not sure, is it funnest? No, it's most fun. Most fun, I think, proper English. I was a finance major, not an English major. One of the most fun times I've had was coaching high school football with Mark Winnell, and coaching our kids. It was awesome. I love coaching. And I often think back, if I could do it over again, when I found out I was done playing, if I go back now, knowing what I know, would I go right back? Would I get into coaching right away? Maybe. But then the flip side of that is I sure loved raising my kids and living in Jacksonville. And that probably would not have, I would have raised my kids, but as a coach, you're not, most likely not going to stay in one place.
Yeah.
And so, and then there was one time, probably, I think it was between 2016 and 17, 18, that time frame, that Angie and I talked about it, probably starting in 15, because I had this itch. I was really thinking about it, really
for the game.
I always had this for the game, but to go really put my hands on it and be in coaching. And had some conversations with different places, and at the end of the day, it just didn't work out. And so I just kept on doing what I was doing, really. It wasn't probably only a handful of people even know that I was considering it, but I did have conversations with different coaches about the opportunity, what it would look like. Was pretty close to doing it. At the end of the day, it didn't happen, and probably for best.
Well, you might not be the EVP, because not too many people go from coaching.
I probably would not.
Right.
I probably would not be in this role if I would have chosen that. But I might be in a different role
Yeah,
that I'd be
could
loving. I could be a part of a coaching staff, which would be great. I mean, to be a part of the game and to try to do what you can to impact the outcome, and hopefully it's a win. That's fun. That's what it means to go out and compete and get after it. So, but it didn't work. It didn't happen, and I'm here now.
First time anybody probably has ever done this long of an interview with Tony Boselli and not asked much about the Hall of Fame. We followed and chronicled the Hall of Fame. It was awesome. We know what it means to the city, to you, to the family, to everybody, and I think people know that. Was there a time, because I had several of these moments at Super Bowls with you on that day before, was there a time that you had come to peace with this ain't going to happen? I'm not going to get in.
No.
That never hit?
I would have been at peace if it never happened, but I can't say I was at peace during the moment when I was a finalist all those years. It was always a lot of anxiety leading up to the moment when I got the phone call a bunch, finally got the knock on the door the 6th time. So there was a ton of anxiety, not a lot of peace. Every time, the 5 times that I didn't make it, once I got the phone call saying I didn't make it, I was actually at peace. I was like, okay. Frustrated, disappointed. If you're a competitor, you feel like you're competing and you didn't meet the mark, even though if you're really being honest with yourself, there's nothing you can do because the hay's in the barn. Yeah. You've already played the game. Nothing you're going to do is going to change it. So I would always be at peace. Never wanted to disrespect the game or the Hall of Fame of the guys who did make it.
Yeah.
When I didn't.
Yeah, you were always gracious in those moments.
And it was genuine because I was genuinely happy for those individuals and felt like they deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. I did not at that time. Now, I'm not saying I didn't think I had a good enough career or played the game at a level, but the reality is the Hall of Fame has a process. That process takes place. At the end of it, it names who is in the Hall of Fame. And I think if you're going to respect the game and respect the Hall of Fame and the men that are in it, then that process is played out. You have to say, okay, I'm at peace. Don't like it, that's okay. But then it would just cycle back and name the finalists again, and then the anxiety. So I had peace for about 9 months a year.
Yeah.
And it's good now because I don't have to.
It's great now.
But every year I sit and Fred. The last 2 years, Fred's been a finalist, and I go, man, I know what that feels like, and I know no matter. And Fred's been great. He's been so gracious, and I think he's handled it like a pro. But I know also at the same time, as a competitor, and Fred's a competitor, like, hey, I feel like what I did on the field was at the highest level it's ever been done, and you want to be recognized for that.
Yeah.
And I hope and I believe that Fred will be. And so, but there was not peace. Do I think I would have got, if at the end of the day, if it wouldn't happen, would I be okay? Yeah. Would there be something missing? Not missing. Would there be some disappointment or whatever? Sure. But it wouldn't change the fact that I got a great wife. I got 5 kids. I have amazing family and friends, and I got a great job. I mean, there's so many things to be thankful for. I think it's all perspective and kind of how do you want to look at it?
Yeah, I told you I'd pull this back to family to kind of conclude. 30 years, if I did the math right, that's
30
either
years.
Just happened or is happening.
June 23rd will be 30 years of been married.
Well, by the time this airs, you have celebrated, so happy anniversary.
Okay, good. So,
How proud of that? Listen, marriage can be tough in general. You're growing up in the spotlight, young, you and Angie, building a family, new place all the way across the country, all those things, like all the things that you just talked about. To navigate all that and still have a handful of kids and be their dad and have obviously a wonderful marriage, all those kind of things. Is that a level of pride?
no, zero pride. Gratitude, ton of gratitude. Listen, I think what God did in both of our lives early in our marriage Both of us had our own personal encounters with Jesus, and whether a renewal of the faith we grew up with, or if you want to call it being a brand new faith, because it became our own. You know, we don't need to debate that theologically, but whatever it was impactful of what Jesus was doing in our lives. So I'm thankful for that, because he did, the people he put around us and the people in our lives and the friends, the support group. So you don't do anything by yourself. But what I'm most grateful for is Angie, because she's a rock star. I mean, she is a great woman. She's a tremendous mother, and she is one of the most faithful people that I've ever run across, as far as standing by her friends, her family, and she does that, but her loyalty and her faithfulness as just a person to me as a wife, like, it's remarkable, because I mean, you go the ups and downs as a player. Forget that. I mean, and I was not an easy person to deal with. I mean,
You've suggested that.
I mean, during the season, I mean, it was football. Like, everyone talks about family, or faith, family, and football, and like, hey, faith should be first, then family, and then football. I agree in principle, but in Tony Boselli's life, it was football, and then faith and family came. I'm not proud of that, but that's just how I was wired. Like, if the game did not go well, I was not someone who wanted to be around you, and you did not want to be around me because of it. And leading up to the game, I was not going to be super dad or super husband. I was going to be focused on football. And I had a wife in Angie, and still do, that was so supportive and let me be me, and let me try to be the best football player I could be, and was so supportive. And then you go through this transition where it falls apart. And listen, you don't know. How's that going to work? You know, hey, we're not making millions of dollars anymore. We're like, now we're young and we have kids and we've spent a lot, big houses, and all of a sudden we weren't planning on football being over at that time. So all you're now pivoting is like, okay, we can't afford the lifestyle for the next 50 years that we were just living. So we got to pivot. And we're going to move, because your husband doesn't know where he wants to live. So we're going to go to Austin, and we're going to go to Nashville. By the way, neither place she wanted to go. And finally, we'll make it back to Jacksonville. And through the entire process, she was the strength of the relationship. She was the rock. She was the one who was helping me navigate that. So 30 years of marriage to her is easy for me. I mean, everyone's like, marriage is hard. I'm like, well, not to the woman I'm married to. It is very simple. As long as I can get over her being late to everywhere she goes.
I respect it, Angie.
Everywhere. Her and I tell her all the time, I said, you will be late to your own funeral. I mean, she's late, and I can tell her, I lie to her now. Like, okay, we have to be there somewhere at 7. I said, we have to be there at 6:30. She is still late for 7. It doesn't matter.
That's just because she knows.
She's smart. Yeah, she's smart. So that's the only thing. Like, if you said, has marriage been hard? Only that. Because it drives me crazy. But she makes it easy. So to me, it's going to be a great summer. We're going to have time off. Her and I are going to go on a vacation, celebrate 30 years. And it's probably one of my favorite accomplishments of my life. I don't say it's the greatest, because I didn't do it. It's probably the greatest for her to put up with me for 30 years.
Well done.
But it's what I'm most thankful for.
Yeah.
And the gratitude I have to being married to that woman and enjoying it and having fun together, but also the security and the safety we've given our kids. Like, what a blessing. I mean, it's and to do it here in Jacksonville. I mean, it's been, I'm a blessed person.
Congratulations on that, by the way. Last thing, you have a legacy here. It's hanging in the stadium. It's oozes here in Jacksonville. It's in a gold jacket. Are you at all concerned with this new role, tarnishing that, taking away from it? Does that enter your mind, or are you more excited about building on it? Or is it already done? Like, how do you view that?
Yeah, it's a great question, because people have said, man, it's someone just the other day said, man, it's risky. What if it doesn't work? And maybe I'm just dumb, because I'm like, to say it's never crossed my mind wouldn't be accurate, but it doesn't scare me.
Yeah.
I don't worry about it. At the end of the day, Brent, I'm going to do the best I can. Like, my commitment to Shad Khan and his family, to the Jacksonville Jaguars, all the employees, coaches, players, our fans, everyone who has any part of it, is I'm going to do the best I can to make decisions with James and Liam and support them in their roles as GM and head coach that are best for the Jacksonville Jaguars as an organization, which includes the Khan family, and helps us win football games. Now, can I guarantee you it's going to work? Nope. I can't tell you how many games we're going to win. Do I think we're going to win a lot of games? Yeah. Do I think we're going to win a Super Bowl? Absolutely. That's what we're striving for. But I'm not afraid of failing. There's been certain times in my life where the fear of failure has driven me to do things. And that's a powerful driver. And it's putting me in situations where I've had high level of success. But fear does not drive me. And so I'm not afraid of, if it doesn't work, what are people going to say? Well, they'll probably say it was a dumb hire, he's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's doing, and that'll be okay.
Yeah.
But does that tarnish my legacy? I don't know. If people want to say it does. It won't tarnish my legacy as a husband to Angie. It won't tarnish my legacy with my kids as a dad. I don't think they're going to take my bus down in Canton. It doesn't change anything I did on the field here. It doesn't change anything that Angie and I and our family and the people around us have done in the community. And so I'm not worried about it. I just want to do the best. I'm going to do the best I can. And we're going to, I only can speak for me, but I know James and Liam feel the same way. They're going to do what they can and put everything to it and compete like heck to try to put a winning product on the field. And at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. That's why you roll the ball out there and you go play the games. But I'm not worried about the legacy if it goes bad. If it does, I'm sure if it doesn't work out, my guess is Shad and I will sit down one day and he'll say it's not working out and time to make a change. I hope we never have to have that conversation, but I'm also going all the way back telling the story about when they put me on the expansion list. It's a business. And the job of an NFL team, because it is entertainment, our fans and our sponsors pay money to watch a football team and to feel good and to be entertained. And typically, it is more fun and more entertaining when you win. And so that's what we're paid to do. And so that's what we got to go do. And we'll do the best we can and work our tails off. And I think we got a good organization. I know we have a great owner who's given us all the resources and has invested into this organization and investing in the community. And we got a lot of good people in this organization, and our players are working their tails off this offseason. So we'll see what happens. But I'm confident, excited for it. But if we don't win, then got to make hard decisions. And I hope that never happens. And I'm confident it won't. I'm confident we're going to win.
I asked the questions, I can answer it. The legacy is secure. He's one of the best stories ever in the city of Jacksonville. Tony Boselli, another edition of Storytellers of the 904. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Brent.